Hi, it's Miss Becky with the Madison Library. We are here at Ellis Solomon Taxidermy in Brandon, and you are in for a treat. I didn't know how you would take a deer skin and turn it into a beautiful trophy that you put on a wall. It takes patience and talent, and it's really an art. Come on in and let's go see how it all works.
This is a hide off of a deer, okay, that's been completely cleaned. Well, not completely, it's about 80% right now. But it shows that when we mount a deer, we're working with leather, okay? Taxidermy, okay? Taxi means move, dermy means skins. So I'm moving skins. Taxidermy is what that is. So we start with leather, okay? And then it's a matter of finding the right armature or right form for the deer to go on. Look at the one that it fits the best. Kind of like the best shoe, the shoe that fits your foot the best. That's what we do to a deer. And we find that in the pose that the client wants. Okay, they may want one to the right, they may want one to the left, they may want this and that. So we find that, and then we find the appropriate size. Then we take the antlers, okay, and we put that on there. And there's a process of bonding that we do. We anchor that to it. And then it's a matter of reapplying that skin over a mannequin. And actually, in 2021, a mounted deer is actually almost, if not prettier than a live one, because they've taken all the good features and exemplified them, or accentuated them, let me say. So the end product is not only all the pretty parts of a deer, it's a lot cleaner than a live one. So a lot of people think a deer, oh, it's dirty, this and that. It's not. Okay, a mounted deer should be a fur coat in the shape of a deer. And it's all about who can make the best leather. So that's what we do. So I got this one, okay, which is the exact same thing as this, okay, and all the work's been done. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is put the skin, taxi the skin where it needs to be. And give me just a second, I'll show you how to do that. These forms, a lot of thought and detail and a lot of trial and error went into these forms, okay? These are sculpted by an artist out of clay, and then they make a mold, and then they pour polymer into that mold, foam, actually expanded foam. And look at the detail that's in them. See, the veins, the detail, the bagginess under the eyes, the creases, the jawline, all of that's there, okay? But when they pour these into the molds, okay, they can't quite pour as much detail into them as we can add to them here in the shop. So what we do, we take a little Dremel tool. I just bought this, okay, and we cut the slot, okay, and we cut the nose. See how I'm doing that? Now, I'm not so much changing the shape or size, I'm just changing the depth, okay? And I'm gonna cut the lip slot, see? I'm gonna cut this other pre-orbital. And then I'll finish that out. Now what I've done here, I've set myself up so that skin has a place to go now. Okay, and that'll be what I later put insert the skin, glue it to the surface, and that'll give that deer added detail. It's one of the things that makes a difference between a mounted deer and a recreated deer. Two different things, okay? So, and just like they taught in algebra, what you do to this side, you do to that side.
Right.
Okay, that's all there is. This tool, okay, and see how I put little bitty scratches? Okay, now this mannequin is very hard. On the surface, I can put little bitty scratches with this tool. Some people use other tools. But that will give my glue a surface to stick to.
Right.
and then the glue will stick to the skin, and it all kind of welds together as a better product. Everything we do to a deer maybe adds 1% or 2 to the finished product. Okay, so the way I look at it, if you spend 2 minutes and make that deer 1% better, it's worth it.
Oh yeah.
You see, so that's one of the problems with deer is, you know, like I say, everybody wants them yesterday and wants to come get them tomorrow. Okay, but there's no substitute for the amount of time that you'll spend on a deer. Right. See, that's the thing. Okay, so time is probably the most important resource we have, and that's the most obvious thing when you pick up a deer is the amount of time that was spent on it. Because if we increase the amount of deer we do, we'd have to increase the quality we put into them. See, or the time that we're spending on them. And most people, I think, are aware of that. I don't know. I know I can, and I know most people that come out here do. You can look at a deer and tell if somebody didn't spend the amount of time on it they should.
Right.
It doesn't look right. And they may see something and they'll say, well, I don't know what it is, but, well, it's time, you know, or lack of knowledge, you know. Okay. Everybody asks us when they come in this room, they say, why do you have things stuck in their nose? Okay. Remember that I put that skin in the mannequin and I explained there's glue under it? Okay. I'm going to take this plastic and I'm going to push that up there in a way. What does plastic do? It expands. Okay. So what it's going to do, it's going to hold that skin onto that glue until it dries. Okay. So it'll stay exactly where I want it to. And then, I don't know, 3 weeks from now, I'll pull that out and it'll be like I left it. How it dries is how it stays. Okay. All right. So from that point, we got that like we like it. I want to make sure that's the same. Okay. Now this is probably one of the most important parts. This is some skin that we prepared around the eye orbit, which is the circle around the eye, the skin. These are the deer's eyelashes. Underneath, and I'll show you one here in a minute. Underneath here, that's glass, which is photographically accurate to a live deer's eye. Okay. All around it, I prepared a false eyelid with clay. And in that clay, I took this tool and I cut a slot around the perimeter of it. I'm going to take this skin, okay, and I'm going to reinsert that skin into that slot. Okay. And it kind of goes into that slot, not up, down, and forwards and backwards, but it's kind of like a peacock. See? So we do that. Okay. And we have the approximate shape of a deer's eye again. Okay. So now we got a long way to go. We got a long way to go. Okay, and from this point, I want to take just a little silk pin, and right in that front corner, I'm going to put that there. Okay. And that'll anchor that skin exactly where I want it. Okay, let's clean that up. See how it looks like a deer eye? Okay, well, I do the other eye and it looked like a deer again. Okay, so from this point, we want to take this. See this skin right here? Okay. Everybody refers to that as a tear duct. Okay, that's not a tear duct. It's a preorbital gland. Pre means in front of, orbital means round. Okay, so in front of the eye gland. And I've cut a slot right there. That's probably, if I had to guess, about a 1/4 inch deep. And I'm going to reinsert that skin into that gland. And just to make sure we don't have any problems with wanting to move, I'm going to put a couple of pins in there. And see, we do this all day, every day. We can produce here at my shop. We have to do kind of a numerical average of what we've done months ago and what we're doing today and what we're going to do. But no matter what our intentions are, no matter how many we wish we could produce, we can only technically produce about 1.5 deer a day. And that's the big thing with taxidermy. Everybody wants it yesterday, right, wants to come get it tomorrow. Okay, but nobody really realizes the amount of work that goes into them. So
they're about to learn, aren't they?
So they're see, now there's a lot more. I'm sure y'all will have this edited down quick. It takes years to get to where you can produce this comfortably. Let me find my little okay. So what are we going to do to this side? Okay, let me say this. When I was in high school, I took algebra. I even took it in college. And they said, one day you're going to need all this. Okay, y'all remember that? Okay, now, I can't say that I've ever used algebra for anything other than this, but I can say the one thing I remember from algebra is what you do to one side, you do to the other, correct? Right. Okay, so in taxidermy, what you do to one side, you do to the other. All right. So I'm assuming that's what my teachers were talking about back when I was in college. Okay, we're going. I
understand it when you say it.
Yeah. There you go. So we're going to do the front. We're going to do the back. Okay. Now what we're going to do here, the exact same thing that we did to the other. Okay. Now see how it all has a place where it wants to go. And I want to do that as neatly as possible. I want to make sure that it's not sloppy. I want it to look alive. Nothing in nature is sloppy. It's all very well thought out somehow, you know. So, okay, let's do that. Okay,
sometimes you forget that it's not alive when I see pins in there.
Now the goal. Now down the road, we'll take those pins out. They'll come out. And remember what is this? Preorbital gland, right back in the place where it's supposed to be. People call that a tear duct. It's actually not a tear duct. It's a gland, and a deer's strongest sense is his sense of smell, and they communicate through sense. They have glands here, all over their body, and a deer can leave his scent somewhere. It'll last for, sometimes I think weeks, and that's how they find each other. Because remember, they live out in the woods, and they can't call each other. Okay, so let's anchor that. Okay, let's put that pin. Sometimes I can't catch them with that little thing. Come on. Well, you can edit this. Okay, there you go. Okay, now prior to putting the skin on, remember I put clay here, and that gave me something to tuck into. Right. I can now press the clay, and it will hold that skin. Okay, I also put a glue in that slot. I put clay in front of it so that I can push it back down, and as this skin dries, which will be over about the next 3 days, when it dries, it wants to expand. Skin is upwards of 75% water, or if not more. So when it loses water, it shrinks. So what I need to do is stay with it over the next few days as it's shrinking, and keep pressing and make sure it has good adhesion under it. So that we don't have any shrinkage issues. I don't want my work to come undone. Right. You see? All right, so let me let me do something here. Now this'll be cool. You'll like this. Okay, let me turn this upside down. These stands, you can buy these, or like I did, I had a friend make these for me about 25 years ago. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn this deer upside down and you'll see why. Okay. Now remember, it's all about gluing the skin, or let me just say the leather that we've created, to the form. Okay, and I want to show y'all something that very few people even know. Okay, there is one straight line on a mammal, one straight line. Okay, do you know where that straight line is? You wouldn't believe the guesses we get. Anyway, humans and all mammals have a midline. Okay? You ever notice you got a line right there? And it actually extends under your lip. You've got a line. Okay? And if you look at a deer, it's got the same midline. See it? Right. That's the only straight line on a mounted deer. Okay? It's the only straight line in nature. It's right there. Okay, so when you use good materials, okay, they generally are put together in a two-part mold, and that should be in the exact center. Now, if you'll notice, there is glue in there, but I cut a slot right here. Okay, that slot is about, I'm gonna say it's 3/16 of an inch cut into the mannequin. Mannequin is made of high-density foam. So watch, I'm gonna take that line, I'm going to stick that down in there. Now the pressure of that expansion of that slot and filling it with that skin acts to hold that where I want it. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find the exact corner of this deer's mouth. And I don't really know how to explain it, but I can see it right there. And it's the part where the hair pattern changes. So I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to insert that. Okay, and I'm going to do, remember algebra? Okay, algebra. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to find that exact spot there, which I can see it. I'm going to do the exact same thing there. Okay. Now, look how that works. Okay. Now see, it's all inserted and the tension of the foam holds it back. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the top skin, which earlier I put glue all in here. You can see it. This glue is actually plant-based glue. It's flour and dextrin, which is a cornstarch kind of thing. It's cake batter. You can actually eat it. I wouldn't eat it, but you can if you, I guess if you're starving, okay? So now what I want to do, I've prepared this skin, see? And I'm going to put that there. Now there's his bottom lip. See it? Okay, what are we going to do to the bottom? The exact same thing we did to the top. Now it's a little bit wet. Sometimes I'll take a hair dryer. Let's see what's happening here. Okay. Now let me show you something. See this black line right here and here? See, he's got it on the bottom as well as of his muzzle. Now, people ask, why do they have those little black lines on their face? Or excuse me, black patches on their face. Well, according to those who know, a million years ago, whitetails had fangs. Okay, because they found their food on, kind of like a walrus has tusks. And currently elk still have incisor, they call them ivories, okay? But generations and eons ago, whitetails had external teeth right there, and that black patch let the other animals see it, because you can't see it against the white fur.
Right.
Okay, so and over time there's no need for that for them anymore. You know, they're herbivores now, so they've lost it. But about 1 out of 100 when we take the deer apart, we'll still have little tiny ivory teeth. Yeah, we see that. Okay, I remember the first one I found, I thought I had something, but anyway. Okay, so we've done the eyes, the nose, the mouth, all of that. Everything's aligned properly. Everything's where it should be. Okay, so now what we want to do, turn it up, and what do we got now? A deer again, right? Okay, now this started with a ball of leather. A ball of leather, some glass eyes, some antlers, and a deer mannequin. See? So now, let me show y'all. Let me show you. Okay. What we want to do, let me lower him a little bit. Okay. What we want to do, let's take, now even though we've got an assembled deer here, okay, he lacks, very much so, he lacks detail. Okay. One of the things that he needs now that he doesn't have, he needs a little TLC, but his hair patterns are all out of whack. Okay, it's like you wake up in the morning, your hair is all in a mess. Okay, well this deer's 5 in the morning. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my coarse brush. All right, and I'm going to brush this out. And I know from doing my stuff, you know, from research and just doing it for most of my life, I know the direction that hair wants to flow on a deer, okay? And so I'm going to put all that back as best I can right now. Now, what I'm doing, this process, I'll do this probably half a dozen more times. Go over it, make sure everything's just right, make sure everything's been groomed. You know, everybody that mounts deer does them different. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody that does it looks at it and says, that's what I want. Now, some may not know what they're looking at. They may overlook details, you know, and I'm probably the same. I'm guilty of that. I'm always trying to learn more. My goal is to become, you know, my goal, when somebody brings one of these, my goal is to give them the best possible product they can get for their money. So, you know, I'm constantly trying to learn, constantly trying to improve, but I have found that a tremendous amount of how a deer looks depended on how pretty the deer was. Okay, because if you'll notice that all these deer, they're all different. In a minute, I want you to get a shot of all these hanging around here, and you'll see. Okay, so now, if you'll look straight at that deer, now he may be a little fuzzy and out of focus, but he should look presentable.
Definitely.
Okay, which is the minimum we want him right now. Okay, now remember, this skin is still wet, it's still full of water. We'll take him here in a little while and hang him up, and he's drying even as we speak. Okay, and as he dries, like I say, that skin tightens up, it becomes more manageable. The detail that I want to put in it will retain. So I tell people when they come pick one up that there's not a hair on the deer we hadn't touched, and I mean that. I mean that. Total time on a deer, you're looking at about 12 hours from the time we shake hands with the person to the time we shake their hand when they leave with it. That's
so
about
they come in with a whole deer and take it from there?
the majority of the time they come in, they've cleaned it in some way, okay, to leave us just what we need, okay? And then the meat goes to a processor. They have it, you know, and they eat it. It's actually, I don't know if y'all, it's very good.
Well, that's good.
I got some in the freezer y'all have. So the next thing I want to do, I want to make sure these ears are in the right spot, okay? And in addition to that, I want to make sure that in here is clay, okay? See how it moves? That's clay, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm shaping that clay. And I'm, like I said, I'm mimicking the shape of a live deer's ear muscle. There's actually 5 muscles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a deer's ear. A deer's ear can be anywhere from forward to backwards, and they're actually independent of each other. Really? So you don't have to have them perfect. You know, a lot of people think they should look perfect, but in reality, a deer's almost never posed perfectly. So we'll take that and see these hairs inside the deer's ears. We'll take that and I'm going to brush that out. See how much better that looks? Yeah. Cleaner, neater. See? I go over to somebody's house and I see a deer that they've had on their wall for 10 years. And, you know, I'm so critical of how these things look. I'm be honest, I'm never happy, even with the ones I do. They're never good enough. Never will be. Never will be. He inserted the skin around this deer's eye. Remember that? Okay. Remember we went back later and put the detail in as it dried, and it was able to retain that detail because we caught it at the right time. There's always going to be a tiny bit of shrinkage because remember, skin is 75% or more water. Okay? So no matter how good a job you do, you're going to have some shrinkage there. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 2-part epoxy that I see. Notice that color matches that? And I'm going to take my tool and I am going to press and push as much of that epoxy as I can into the gap between the skin and the glass. Okay. See how that looks a lot neater, a lot more uniform. Okay. Now, a deer without airbrushing is about like a supermodel with no makeup on. Okay. You can do a lot of good stuff with a little bit of makeup, and that's what I'm doing here. Okay. Now, remember what I did to this side, I'm going to do to this side. Press up. See, it's messy now, but see, I take the excess off. We've also put epoxy here. See the little bit of the little epoxy? And remember, we did it here too. Okay. So, oh, will you hand me that red thing, please? Okay. Now this is just this is alcohol. And put it right there. Okay, and then I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm gonna smooth that. See, I took all my tool marks out of it. And that's as natural as one can possibly look.
Looks great.
See, I'm gonna take this inside of this ear and all that little bit of exposed skin, I'm gonna paint a little flesh tone, and I'm gonna do that. Look at the difference. Okay, this rim around the eye here, see the little bit of weak. Okay, I'm gonna take and just barely go around that. See? Remember I told y'all earlier this paint's opaque. I'll be able to layer some colors over that. Remember, what we do to one side, we do to the other, see? Okay, I'm gonna do that. See that? And then I'm gonna do that. See, I wanna make sure I got a light coat of that paint. And I don't want it on the hair, I just want it on the little bit of exposed skin that we have. Okay? So that's all I'm gonna do with that flesh tone, okay? Remember, it's not the paint color flesh, it's the paint, it's flesh tone. Okay, I'm toning the deer. All right, now this is white, okay? This is actually, I mixed, there's about 4 different colors of white. Super hide white, off white, grayish white. Pure white, okay? Light, bright, anyway. So I'm gonna take that. I mixed 2 colors of white to come up with kind of a unique color that I feel like matches. It's technically not good to breathe this paint, but I think we'll be okay for today. Now see how I'm barely coloring that, see? See that? Just enough to matter, okay? Now, it being opaque, okay, lets me go over my other paint. It doesn't change the color, it just further tones it and gives it depth. Okay. And by the time I get through painting this deer, there won't be 3 drops of paint on it.
Wow.
But it's just almost microscopic. But it's enough to give the deer the appearance of life again. See? Just a little bit. Okay. So now I'm gonna take my brown. Okay. I'm gonna poke a little hole so it doesn't get suction. Okay. I've used these same bottles and this same airbrush for years. Now blend this brown. Again, this is about 3 different colors of brown added, and I'm trying to match the tone of a deer's. And every one of them's a little bit different. Okay, and that'll determine. I'll kind of address that by how much or how little paint. And see how it goes on. See that? See that? See how I'm toning? See what a difference? I'll take that little part and add to that, and kind of speed this up for you a little bit. Okay, see how I'm toning? See, makes a big difference. Here in a minute, okay, we're gonna go back over this deer, and we're actually gonna remove a lot of the paint that we're putting on it now. We're gonna take off our overspray around the eyes. Now look what a difference that makes. See how pretty that is? Let's see, it's a little shiny. That shows it's drying or the paint's a little thick. Let's hit that ear, hit that, a little around there. Okay, now I'm gonna turn it upside down. Okay, and I'm gonna address that little area, top of the eye. Right in there. I'm gonna get that bottom lip that we added to it. The bottom of a deer's nose is actually lighter colored than the top of a deer's nose. So I'm gonna go ahead and give that a good layer of brown. Remember, it's, like I said, it's opaque, which means you can kind of halfway see through it and add to it. Okay, we're good there. Let's see. We're good there. And now I want to check. This looks good. Any little flaw on the back or anything that I might kind of touch up, I'll give it a little bit. Okay, so from this point, what I'm going to do. Now, everybody calls this black. It's really, really dark gray is what it is. And I actually mix it to get it exactly like I want. Come on now. I don't know why it's not coming out. Give me just a sec. This is dark gray. It's not gonna suction. Sometimes I spend an hour trying to get the paint to come out of a. Okay. Let's see if this will work. There you go. Okay. Now, this is the boldest color. Now, see how it's a real dark gray? Okay, this is the boldest color that we're going to paint on this deer. And I'm going to hit the nose pad. See? Make sure all that's straight. And then, now when you paint, okay, it's better to have 10 light coats stacked on top of each other than it is to have one really heavy coat caked on it. Does that make sense? I've actually seen on TV where women now use airbrushes to put their makeup on.
Oh, really?
I've seen that. Okay.